Alright, in this video, I want to talk about relationships. That's right. How'd you know? Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because yesterday I was watching the Super Bowl with my nephews. Fly, Eagles, fly! Hoping that victory is a sign that the Church of Philadelphia is going to fly away here this year. But anyway, while watching the Super Bowl, one of my nephews was picking on one of my younger nephews about being with a girl because he's getting to that age where he's probably going to want a girlfriend. And I figured, you know what, I will give some advice that applies mainly to men. And that is, at first, don't seek a relationship, right? You got to let these things just kind of happen. You don't want to just get in a relationship just because you want to be in a relationship, because you want a girlfriend. Because then you end up just getting with somebody because you want to be with somebody, and you're not really thinking about how you really connect, right? And uh, also, you don't want to get in a relationship because people are pressuring you to get into one. Like, oh, other people are, having sex and all this stuff, and you don't want to be a virgin, do you? Ha ha ha. Well, you're letting them control you, right? You're doing it because they're pushing you and manipulating you into it. You don't want to do that. And then making fun of you about something like being gay or something. Again, manipulating you to go do it instead of just letting it happen. You see, you should just let God make it happen. He'll bring you to somebody and bring someone to you if he wants you together. And you just got to trust that. But you going out and actively looking for one is you trying to do it. And that would be my first thing is don't do that. Right? The scriptures talk about if you're not married, don't seek to get married. Right? Just dedicate yourself to God. And if he wants you to be with somebody, he'll end up connecting you with somebody. This is not something you should force. And I know you're not going to listen to that. Most likely not. But, I'm just giving the advice anyway. And the other thing I would say as a man is not to approach women. Have them approach you. Because it's that got to that point where women just want like a power trip to feel wanted. So if you come up to them asking them if they want to go out or something, a lot of times it'll be no, not because they don't want to, but just because they like the power to be able to say no, right? And they think, oh, they tell you no, oh, you'll try harder, you do this, you do that, or right? They always want more. There's nothing is never enough, right? They always want more and more and more. But you need to realize in relationships that as a man, you don't need a woman, right? You want one, I know you do. You don't need one though. Women need you. You got to realize that you may look at them as the prize, but ultimately you're the prize. That's why women peacock and dress up and do all kinds of things to look very attractive is because they're trying to get that prize. Just like a peacock will demonstrate its beauty and everything to try to win over the female peacock, they're doing that same thing, right? And you need to realize that your position as a man. The Bible even tells us after the fall that Eve, woman, is going to have that desire for her husband. She's going to want you, but she wants to have the power, so she tries to get you on that other side to be going after her. And that's how society has made it, because society is built up in a way to basically be for women. They act like it's a man's world. I don't see how it is. Men go and they slave for the system for women to be comfortable, right? The men doing all the hard jobs, even laying down their lives in a lot of these jobs, or risking their lives, to support the nation and society and the economy so that they can support their wives and children and women in general, that they may have peaceful, comfortable lives, right? You don't need them, they need you. And that's what you need to realize. So stand in that. And if you don't have that kind of confidence and realize that, you definitely shouldn't be in a relationship, because the woman is just going to walk over you and use you and abuse you. A lot of guys you idolize and put the women on a pedestal and act as though they're angels when they're not. They will tear your heart apart just because they can, because you let them, because they think you're weak and pathetic for caring enough to put your guard down and let them do it. Right? They can be very vicious and vindictive. And you need to realize that. It's like little Wolverines in a pretty package. Right? You put it in a nice, pretty little present, and you're like, ooh, I want to go open this. And then this vicious animal comes out and tears you apart. And you need to realize that. And, that's just the way it is. I'm not here to bash women, because I'm all for relationships and getting married and having children. But we need to realize the truth here and make sure the roles are properly put in their place. Because as a man, you need to be the man. But the woman needs to realize she needs to be the woman. But a lot of times she wants to be the man. Right? And if she's not going to submit to that, there's no reason for you to be in a relationship. Are you going to neuter yourself and submit to that just to be with a woman? You shouldn't be doing that. It's not good for you and you psychologically, for you emotionally. It's not good for society. All right? It's not good at all. So you need to stand up and be a man, right? And until you are actually standing on a firm foundation of knowing who you are and establishing yourself and having your boundaries and knowing what you want and what you don't want, you shouldn't be getting in a relationship. Not to mention, you need to make sure you're on the right page. Right? Like the scriptures talk about, hey, if you are not married, don't seek to get married. Not that it's a sin or anything wrong to get married, but if you are going to get married to a believer. So let's say you're Christian like me. You don't want to get hooked up with someone who just says they're Christian. Are they really Christian? They truly believe, or do they grew up in it? They don't truly believe it. They're not really dedicated to Jesus Christ. That's something you should know. Or are they Christian, or are they Catholic, or are they Orthodox, or are they Presbyterian, a Jehovah's Witness, a Mormon, or are they Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, or are they atheist, or an agnostic? These things are important, because you shouldn't just get in a relationship because you want to be in a relationship because you have chemistry with somebody, you're having fun with them. You should be looking at them as they're going to be your bride and the mother of your children. So if they don't have the same beliefs you have, that's going to mess up with your children, right? And politics can come under the same viewpoint there as well. If, like for me, I'm in the middle there, where I don't get involved because I see good things from the left, good things from the right, but I also see the bad from the left and right, and I look at the left and right, Democrats and Republicans, as good cop, bad cop. Each side will take turns being the bad cop to get you to go to the good cop, but they're both cops on the same team working together. That's how I see it. So if I'm with somebody who's far left or far right, or even just left-leaning or right-leaning, it may cause us to butt heads. And again, that affects if you're going to have children with that person. So you need to have those kind of things set where you're on the same page there. And is she in that mindset of, hey, you're the man, you're the head? Is she going to respect you and honor you, or is she going to undermine you and constantly test you and provoke you? Is she going to try to destroy your peace because she's bored or she wants to dominate you? If she's like that, don't waste your time with her. It's going to just cause you a headache and just destroy your peace and cause stress. Where, as a man, you're going to deal with a lot of stress in life. You're going to deal with it with jobs, dealing with the world and schooling, with friends, money, all these different things. You're going to have to deal with issues. Your own self-esteem, all these different things, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to go through a lot of testing. So if you're getting with a woman, it should be somebody who's going to help you, to be someone who's going to be there to help you deal with things, to uplift you, not to constantly test you along with the world and be beating on you and provoking you where you have no place to rest from it. You got to deal with it at work, out in the world, in the schooling, among friends, constant things. You're going out in these social situations. You got to deal with people provoking and mocking and all this stuff, disrespect. At home should be a place to get away from that. So you want to find somebody who's going to actually attribute to your peace and help your peace so you can actually rest and be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically recuperated so that you can go and then deal with it. Because dealing with these kind of things can be good for you. Kind of like working out, you're lifting weights, it causes a stress, right? But you also need rest. You get stronger when you rest. You lift heavy weights, you rest for a period of time, your body adapts, gets stronger. You go lift weights again, you can lift it more times, or you can lift more weight. You consistently do that, you consistently get stronger, right? But if you're lifting weights and you don't rest, and then you do it again, let's say you're doing curls in the morning, you're doing curls in the midday, you're doing curls in the evening, and then you do that every day, and you keep trying to lift more every time you lift. Like say you do 5 reps in the morning, you try to do 10 reps in the middle of the day, you try to do 15 reps in the evening, and then you try to do 20 the next, and you keep trying to do 5 more each time, or you try and up the weight each time, but you never rest. You're doing it every day. You're going to stress out the muscles and the ligaments. You're going to just mess everything up. You're not going to grow, and you're not going to get stronger. You're going to get weaker. So you need to realize that the woman should help you rest and recuperate to get stronger. And if she's not doing that, she's not a wife. She's basically the world that you're dealing with, right? Your wife should be a helper and someone who builds you up to help you rest and to get stronger so that you can take on the world. And if she doesn't understand that, and she wants to undermine that and disrespect you in different ways, a lot of times it's subtle, that should be a no-go. You shouldn't just be like, oh, well, she's very attractive, I'm sexually attracted to her, I got these feelings. But you got to understand, especially these younger fellas, feelings are not, let's say, reality, right? Because a lot of times you feel something, it's just a sexual attraction. But if you ever were to sleep with her, you may be like, oh, I got that release. I don't really like her. Or some of you who like to play with yourself there, you get your release, all of a sudden you don't think about her anymore. Because it's just a sexual desire. You don't even really know her. You just find her to be attractive. That's not love, right? And even when you got butterflies because you're hanging out with one another and it's not about sex, oftentimes that's not love either. Because you see, you like the feeling you get. You're in love with the feeling. You don't truly know them. There's just a feeling you got with them. Well, love has nothing to do with yourself. Love has to do with you care about them so that even though you might not feel good at all, you still want them to feel good. You still want to take care of them. You still want to help them, right? It's about them. It's a choice where even though you might feel sad or depressed or angry or feeling neutral, there's no real feeling at all, that you still choose to love that other person in spite of how you feel. And even if they're making you feel angry or sad, making you cry, that you still choose to love them because you love them. You choose to. It's not a feeling. It might actually be opposed to what you actually feel. So this is another thing you need to know and understand. And another thing I would bring up is where Solomon in the scriptures tells us not to give our strength unto a woman. And a lot of young men don't realize that they shouldn't be seeking to prove how much of a man they are by getting with somebody or getting with a lot of people or any of that. Matter of fact, staying a virgin is very beneficial to you spiritually and physically and mentally, because your strength comes from your vitality. And when you give away this seed, whether to a woman, I don't know, if you're doing other things, going after other things other than a woman is what I mean, or pornography or something, you're giving away this seed, this vitality that actually has the ability to create life. It can bring life into the world. And you're giving away this strength for what? For some pleasure? For an ego boost? For what? To prove to other people that you can do it and you did it or something? To prove you're a man? You're giving away some vital strength to you when you're actually not engaging in releasing your vitality. It changes you. You'll end up producing more testosterone, which will boost your mental clarity, help out your memory and your cognitive abilities. Obviously, it helps out your skeletal structure and your joints and your ligaments and your muscles, and it helps with your motivation and discipline and ambition to move forward, take care of yourself, and to achieve things. But when you're younger and you start releasing this, whether in a relationship or with yourself, you start to get docile and laid back, and you get weaker as a man, and your testosterone levels start to drop. Because you have that testosterone to get you motivated to make yourself something in society, in the world, so that you attract a mate. But then when you're actually releasing this vitality and not actually getting a mate, you trick your body into thinking that you have found a mate and you're reproducing, you've done what you needed to do, so now it can lower the testosterone. You don't need to put so much effort into it anymore. It doesn't have to put all this energy into your mental cognitive ability, your physical ability, because you've already achieved what you needed to achieve, right? Because when you get with a woman and you're starting to have children, and then you have children, your testosterone level drops because you don't need that oomph anymore, and you need to be more caring towards your wife and to your children, so it drops. That's another thing you need to realize if you end up having a wife and children, that is something that's going to happen. You're going to change in that aspect where you're not as ambitious and sexually driven because you're getting it. And you have children now, and that stuff drops, and that's normal. And your wife needs to understand that as well, where she might start to lose some attraction to you because you don't have that same vitality anymore. Something that can help is actually fasting from sexual activity for a while, right? That kind of thing can boost that kind of thing up. But sometimes that can hinder things as well. But that's something you need to understand as well, that you change as you go through life, and you need to understand how she changes as she goes through life, and she needs to understand how you change, and that you guys are prepared for that you're going to choose to love one another in spite of these things. And understand when you take the vows, that means something. And it should mean something, and if it doesn't, you shouldn't be together. Right? So, with that all being said, I think there's just one more point I want to bring up, and that's that society is structured in a way that it's basically like a Ponzi scheme. So it wants you, especially when you're younger and you're too smart to figure things out, like the stuff I'm telling you now, it doesn't want you to know these things and understand these things, because it wants you to just hurry up and get in a relationship and have a child before you know what's what. Because then what happens? Well, now you've got a significant other and you have a child or multiple children that now you need to take care of. So now you have no choice but to plug into the system and probably do a job you normally wouldn't do, because you would strive to run your own business, start some kind of career, or do some other job by getting this fancy education for it. But now you can't because you got to take care of your family. You need to get the money now. So now you're going to go work McDonald's and Walmart and do these other jobs you normally wouldn't do to get the money to take care of them. Right? But that helps out the system. They need people to do those jobs. But they're only going to get the people who mess up their lives to do those jobs. Or other people messed up their lives to get them to do those jobs. And that's the hard truth. You know, all the people who are working those jobs don't really want to. But somebody's going to do those jobs. So they need to have people fit into those jobs. So they got to get these kind of people. So you got to focus yourself and set your plans of what you want. And ultimately, you should be just dedicated to God. And while you follow God, either you're going to end up having that relationship with Him where you don't need a relationship with somebody else, or He's going to lead you to somebody. And then He's going to lead that somebody to you. And they're going to be a believer, and you're going to be on the same page for the most part. You might not like the same kind of ice cream and things like that, but on the important things, when it comes to religion, when it comes to political views, life philosophy, your guys are going to be lined up and compatible, right? So that you can actually, if you decide, have children together and raise them properly without that confusion together as a team, instead of butting heads and undermining one another and disrespecting one another and teaching your children to do the same thing to you and to each other, right? So you need to understand how society is, that it wants to get you to have children to get sucked into the system, because the system, like I said, is like a Ponzi scheme. And the Ponzi scheme needs to keep growing, or else it's going to fail. It's going to collapse. Because you see, a Ponzi scheme is like somebody who starts something like, I think back in the day, I don't know if it's still going, is this company called Avon, where they sold like makeup or Tupperware or different stuff like that. And what it would be is like, okay, I get you to invest in this product, and I give you a bunch of this product. You giving me, say, let's $10,000, you get all these product, and then when you sell it, you make a profit. So I get the money already, but you don't have anything. You have to actually now do the work to sell all that stuff. And then when you sell it, I get a portion of what you sell, a little bit of that, because I brought you into the system. And then I go do this with a bunch of people. So let's say I get 4 people doing this for me. They each invested $10,000, and then when they start selling that stuff because they want to make their money back, I get a portion of that as well. But then they can also get people under them to start selling things as well. So I don't even sell anything anymore because I just needed those 4 people. Now they're motivated to go get people selling. So what ends up happening is, say one of those 4 people gets 2 people to sell for them. Well, a portion of that goes to them, but then a portion of what goes to them goes to me. So I don't have to do any selling anymore. And then the people under me, eventually they get enough people under them where they don't have to sell anymore because they got the people under them doing it. And then they get the people under them doing it, but they have to get more and more, right? Because I got 4 people, they're going to probably want to get 4 or even more people because I'm getting a portion of what they get. Nobody's getting a portion of what I get. So the people under me, I got 4 people, but they might want to get 6 because they need more people under them to make the same that I'm making or get close to it. So then the 6 under them, they're like, man, I need to get more people. I need to get 10 people under me. So each one of those 6 get 10 people. So the more people they bring in, the more money I'm making without doing a thing. Right? I'm making a little bit off of each of this, but the people at the bottom are investing. They're not getting really anything out of it. They have to get people into it to get something out of it. Right? And that's just how society is. It's like the Social Security. You invest in it through your life, but then when you get older, for you to get it back, the next generation has to be putting into Social Security so that you can get it back. But you see that for you to get it back, there has to be more people getting into the workforce to keep that going. So when society stops having families, such as men and women butting heads, they don't want to get married, they don't want to have children. Women don't need a man, and men are getting tired of women, and people are being homosexual and lesbians and having sex changes and abortions and all these different things to stop the birth rate. well, then you got to bring in immigration to help out the Ponzi scheme. Because if you don't have more people coming in, it's going to collapse. And then that's like the economy collapsing. Nobody's going to go to work if the money's not worth anything and if you can't buy anything with it. So why go do that job? Right? The job you don't even want to do in the first place. But you got to do it for the family you got suckered into having at a very young age before you knew better. Because you couldn't control your hormones. And you thought wrong, right? You felt wrong. You were confused and manipulated. Not necessarily your fault. Unless you saw this video and then you went and did it, then yeah, that's your fault, right? But yeah, that's how the society is. But ultimately, you should dedicate yourself to God. So, as a man, what you need to realize is how you would want a woman to be with you as a wife and as a mother of your children. You need to realize that's your relationship to God. And how you would want the woman to be with you, you need to be with God so that you do two things. One is that you're being faithful to God and you're doing the right thing where you're honoring Him, you're respecting Him and appreciating Him, and you're taking care of the children. So you're actually bringing forth children for your husband by preaching the gospel to get other people to be accepted into the family. So it's like God is the Father. He gives you the word, which is the seed. And then with that seed, you bring forth children, which is other people by preaching the gospel. You're bringing forth children to God, right? You're being a wife and a mother. And then you feed the children by the word of God, which Peter says is the milk to feed the babes and is the bread of life. So as they get older, you can give them bigger portions, harder portions to digest from the scriptures to feed them. That is being a good wife and mother to God and His children, right? Kind of weird to accept as a man, but you need to realize that. I breathed in a gnat or something there. That was weird. But, and then as a woman, and you want this ideal man, well then realize that God is that ideal man. He is that ultimate protector and provider. The only thing is that you may have to suffer with him a bit. I know a lot of women, they don't want to go through the suffering with the man when he's making his way through life. They want to be with him when he's at the top, right? Like we want to be with God in heaven, not suffering with him here on the earth as he's building things up, right? We want to be with him in paradise. And that's how the woman is. Oh, I don't want to go through you through these tough times. I want to be with you once you pass the finish line and you're established as a man and you've got all your finances set and we don't have to worry about a thing. Then I want to be with you. I don't want to have to struggle with you while you're going through all these different jobs and your education and building up your business and going through these tough times and all this. I don't want to go through that with you. You got to understand that's what you got to do. You see, when you have that mindset and you're dedicated to God where that's what you're going to do, well, then guess what? These two people might actually be brought together. Maybe they're going to have their lives dedicated to God and they're just focused on God. But then God might bring you two together. He's going to be like, this man is dedicated to me where he's being a good example of how a wife should be so that this woman here who's treating me and suffering with me through my tough time until I bring her to paradise, I bring them together so that, hey, she will suffer with him and he will be a good example to her. And then you two may have children together and be able to raise them with that same influence and be in a good spot. And this is something that you obviously cannot rush. And it's not something you should rush into. And as the scripture says, it's not even something you should be looking for. That relationship you should be going after is with God. Because just to be clear about it, a lot of your motivation, at least as a male, is going to be sex. Right? You want to have sex. You have an urge to do it. And the thing is that it's pleasurable. But it's not a big deal once you actually get it. Think of sex like something like pizza. or some food you really enjoy. We're going to say pizza here because most people love pizza. Think of your favorite pizza from your favorite place. Now, if you've never had it before, the first time you had it, you were like, "This is awesome," right? That's kind of like sex. This is awesome. But then you go have it again, you're like, "Yeah, this is really good." You really enjoy it. But then let's say you have it every weekend. You're like, "This is awesome. I really enjoy having pizza every weekend." But you get kind of used to it. It's not a big deal. And then if one weekend you don't have pizza, you're like, "Yeah, it's not a big deal," right? But then if, so let's say you have pizza every day, you may enjoy it, but after a while, like, okay, it's like pizza every day. It was good for like 3, 4 days. Maybe it was good for the whole week. But now I just don't want to have pizza for a little while. And then after you haven't had it for a little while, you go and have that pizza again. And you're like, yeah, it was good. It was good not to have it for a while. And then when I had it again, it was amazing, right? So that's what you got to realize, that, yeah, this is something it excites the flesh. You really want to go after, but you're making it, most likely you're making it a bigger deal than it is, especially if you're younger, especially in your teenage years, young adulthood. You're making a bigger deal about it than it really is. So you need to understand that. It's being overhyped, is what I'll say. And some of the times, the only attraction you have with each other is based on sex. And once you get the sex and you get that urge out, all of a sudden you're like, you had that moment of clarity. Oh, I don't really like this person. I don't really want to be with this person. You see how you're just controlled by your animalistic nature and your hormones. And then what if she got pregnant and you don't really want to be with her? And it's like, oh, well then, you got yourself a predicament there. She wants to keep it, but you don't, right? You got all these issues. Or you want to keep it and she doesn't. Because fools rush in, right? So, with that being said, thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks for supporting the channel by watching all the way through. Please do a quick prayer that God keeps me going and this ministry going. Just an amen to that should be enough. And if you want to, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the video, interact in the comment section. That really helps support the channel. And if you want and you're able to, you can financially support to keep this going. There's a few different ways you can do so in the info box below. So thanks again for watching. Take care, and stay tuned for the next one.